This video is sponsored by Sunflex UK. Dealing with disappointment is a fact of life. Things don't work out as planned, and the best we can do is learn from the experience and move on. Any architect who has been around for a while will tell you about their unbuilt projects, missed opportunities, unrealized designs, lots of work and nothing to show for it. I've had several jobs over the years that could have been brilliant if only they'd been built. So why didn't these projects go from the drawing board to the building site, and what can be learned from it? Each project was different. Some were always going to be difficult. Others seemed straightforward, but circumstances changed over time. Now, I don't think people want to listen to an architect whining about jobs that never got built, so I'm going to use these projects to give you an insight into how the design and construction process actually works. This is the third video in the series, and I've put a link to the playlist at the end of the video. I've been a self-employed architect for 14 years, but I can count on one hand the number of houses I've been asked to design. Now, there are lots of reasons for this, but largely it's the self-built mortgage industry that actually makes it harder to build your own house in the UK. I've made a video about this, and there's a link in the description if you are interested. This is the story of one of the few houses I designed and why it didn't get built. Trust me, it had nothing to do with the planners or construction cost or the client getting terribly ill. This one really could not have been foreseen. Back in 2010, I was approached by a client who had bought a site with planning permission. The property was in a very nice village in Fife, not far from St Andrews. The site was between these two houses, where the garage is located in the photo. The owners of the big white house on the left had planning approval for a one-off house to fill the gap between them and the house next door. The plan was to split their garden. The new house would get half, and the other half would remain with the original house. They also planned to sell off their house at the same time, and this is where the trouble started. My client bought the site before the house sold and commissioned me to design their new home. They were a couple nearing retirement and wanted to move to Fife as they had family nearby. The husband's brother was a local builder who would carry out the work. These are the planning drawings that came with the site. It's important to understand this was an outline planning permission, so they didn't have much detail. Essentially, outline approval just shows that a house of some kind could be built on this site, subject to conditions. You see, outline approval isn't enough. In order to build the house, we would need full planning approval, and that's where I came in. I worked with the client to design a home that suited their lifestyle. We explored different possibilities for the new stairs. They were keen to incorporate storage ideas, to display objects and mementos they had collected over their life together. The master bedroom on the upper floor would have a full-height glass gable so they could view the North Sea from this room. This feature would extend down to the ground floor with the open-plan living space directly underneath, and that opened up to the private rear garden. The design incorporated a lot of glass, and this might be the right time to mention the sponsor of today's video. Sunflex UK design and manufacture high-quality aluminium windows and doors. I made this video exploring how their products enhanced this project of mine. I believe Sunflex windows and doors strike a great balance between cost and quality. Check out the video for full details of the cost of this installation. I've put a link up here and in the description. Over a few months we developed the design until my client was happy it gave them everything they wanted. The brother also had input, as he would eventually build the house and wanted to make sure he understood the design and construction method. Just before we lodged the planning application, the existing house next door was sold. Now, we didn't think anything of this at the time, but it would prove to be the undoing of our project. The new owner was aware the site had been subdivided and that a planning application was imminent. My client contacted the new owner to introduce themselves. They would be neighbours after all, and it's important to get along with whoever lives next door. It turns out the new owner didn't see it that way. As soon as we lodged our planning application, they lodged an objection. Now, that on its own would not be a problem. The planning legislation gives delegated powers to the planning officer to make the final decision for applications like this. The only exception to that is either when a large number of neighbours object or if a statutory consultee objects. If that happens, the delegated powers are taken from the officer and the application is decided by local politicians putting it to a vote during a meeting of the planning committee. The new owner of the house tried his best to have neighbours lodge objections, but he could not get enough numbers. My client had ties to the local community, and most people didn't see any problem with the house design. The new owner then contacted the local parish council and, somehow, persuaded them to write to the planners in asking to be recognised as a statutory consultee for this application. The planners agreed, and the local parish council immediately objected to our house. The planning officer could no longer make the final decision. They would remain involved and write a report on the proposed house design, but it would now be decided by local politicians taking a vote. I had to advise my client that all bets were off. We had no way of knowing how this would go. To make things worse, the new owner then hired a planning consultant to argue against our house. Despite all this, the planning officer was in favour and would write a report supporting our application. On several occasions, dates were set for the local planning committee to hear the case and vote on the application. The neighbour would lodge requests for design changes and further clarifications just before these dates, and the planning officer would be forced to postpone the hearing to allow more time for us to answer these questions. Now, this went on for 11 months. Eventually, the planners got tired of the neighbour playing games. The application was put to a vote, and the local politicians supported it. We got our planning approval and could finally move on. The next step was to prepare a building warrant application. I worked with a structural engineer and the client's brother, the builder, to develop these construction drawings and specifications. It took time to consider the details, and the house was very well insulated by the standards of the building regulations at that time. I should say that if you are considering a new built house or even an extension to your existing house, you can book a consultation with me via the Real Life Architect website. I've put a link in the description below. We got approval for the building warrant application, and the client immediately began construction work with his brother. We had everything we needed. We had won the most contentious planning application I had ever faced, got building regulations approval, and construction had begun. So what went wrong? The client phoned me from site a few days later to say the neighbour had approached him once he realised work was underway. The neighbour was determined to prevent the new house being built and offered my client more than twice the original price of the site to buy it from him. My client accepted this offer, not because he needed the money, but because, ultimately, he didn't want to live next door to this guy. I could not believe it. I understood my client's point of view. The neighbour's behaviour was highly irrational. I just could not understand why they bought the house in the first place when they knew the site was about to be developed. It just didn't add up, and my client felt deflated after more than 2 years of work to get to this point. They eventually bought a new build home in a large development a few miles away. They just could not face going through this process a second time, and I don't blame them. So there you have it. Sometimes everything can go your way and things still don't work out. My name is Neil, and I've been a self-employed architect in the UK since 2009. If you found this video informative, give it a like. It really helps the channel. I regularly make videos about altering and extending private homes in the UK, as well as information on the reality of the construction industry and the architecture profession. If you like the sound of that, please subscribe to the channel to keep up to date.